While the buzz of the World Cup still lingers, there's a small question almost no one has ever thought to ask. Where did the highest goal scorer in the history of world soccer actually grow up, before he became the Cristiano Ronaldo the entire planet knows today? An island so steep, it feels like a wall, with almost no natural rivers to speak of. And this land holds no shortage of other stories well worth telling. Welcome to Madeira, Portugal. Madeira sits in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, roughly 1,000 kilometers from Lisbon, Portugal, and just over 500 kilometers off the coast of Morocco. This volcanic land was formed millions of years ago, but its volcanic activity went dormant long ago. Running through the heart of the island is a mountain range stretching from east to west, its highest peak, Pico Ruivo, rising 1,862 meters, the third highest point anywhere in Portugal. But that very terrain creates a paradox. The north-facing slopes catch all the ocean's moisture, seeing rain year-round and growing thick with vegetation. The south-facing slopes, where most of the population actually lives, are far drier. Water sits on one side of the island, while people live on the other. How do you solve that problem when there isn't a single river large enough to carry water across on its own? For centuries, the people of Madeira dug an entire network of water channels called levadas by hand, more than 2,000 kilometers of them, plus dozens of kilometers of tunnels carved straight through the mountains, all without machinery. Today, the trails running alongside these channels have become the island's most famous hiking network, places where you can walk for hours on end with nothing but the sound of running water in your ears. Above these channels lies a remarkable forest, Laura Silva, the largest surviving primary laurel forest left on Earth, recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. It's a remnant of vegetation that once blanketed all of southern Europe 15 to 40 million years ago. In other words, stepping into this forest is a bit like stepping back into a living fragment of the entire continent's botanical memory. This damp forest is a refuge for species found nowhere else on Earth but Madeira, including Zeno's petrel, one of Europe's rarest seabirds, with only around 200 individuals left, nesting on cliffs that are almost entirely inaccessible to humans. Offshore, around the uninhabited Desertas Islands, another animal is quietly making a comeback: the Mediterranean monk seal, one of the rarest marine mammals in the world. And if there's one place that makes the Laura Silva forest feel most enchanted, it's Funchal, an area on the western side of the island, blanketed in fog almost year-round. Here, centuries-old laurel trees grow into strange, twisted shapes, bent by the sea winds over hundreds of years. As fog drifts through the canopy, the whole forest looks like something out of a fairy tale. Silent, hazy, with almost no clear boundary between earth and sky. For nature photographers, this is considered one of the most surreal landscapes left anywhere in Europe. And if there's one place that captures the full grandeur of Madeira's landscape, it's Cabo Girome, one of the highest sea cliffs in Europe, where you can stand on a glass platform and watch the tiny farm plots far below unfold like a miniature world. But this magnificent island wasn't always so kindly treated by nature. We need to go back more than 600 years, to when the first ships arrived. In 1419, Portuguese fleets under Prince Henry the Navigator set foot on this island for the very first time. They named it Madeira, meaning wood, because at the time, nearly the entire island was covered in dense forest. Even the island's largest city carries a name rooted in its own nature, Funchal, named after the wild fennel plant, Funchal, that grew along the coastline when the first settlers arrived. To clear land for farming, the first settlers set the forest on fire. Legend has it that the fire smoldered for years on end, before the land was finally cleared enough to cultivate. The first crop to bring prosperity was sugarcane, what was known at the time as white gold. By the mid-15th century, sugar had turned Funchal into one of the busiest trading hubs in the entire Atlantic. Then, once cheaper sugar from Brazil and other colonies flooded the market, the people of Madeira had to find a new path forward. They turned to growing grapes and making wine instead, said. And here's one of the island's most delightfully accidental stories. Madeira wine was originally just cargo used as ballast, shipped through the tropics on long ocean voyages. The heat and constant rocking of the ship inadvertently turned the drink into a uniquely oxidized wine, one that almost never spoils. Some bottles of Madeira wine, over 100 years old, are still described by experts as remarkably youthful when finally opened. This famous drink even played a part in America's own founding history. George Washington is said to have ordered Madeira wine, and it was reportedly used to raise a toast to the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Still, not every chapter of Madeira's history has been peaceful. In 1566, a fleet of French pirates landed and attacked the city of Funchal, looting it for days on end. At the time, nuns from a convent in the city fled deep into the mountains to a valley almost entirely cut off from the outside world. That valley later came to be called Curral das Freiras, the nuns' refuge, and it remained disconnected from the island's road network all the way until 1959. Six centuries of sugar, wine, and pillaging have ultimately shaped the way the people of Madeira live today. On an island where flat land is almost non-existent, the people here learned to turn sheer mountainsides into farmland, small terraced plots called poyos, irrigated by water from the very lavada system we just talked about. And behind every one of those channels, there's always someone quietly keeping the whole community in rhythm. The levadero, responsible for managing the water. Their job is to walk along the channels, opening and closing small gates, making sure every farming family gets its proper turn with the water. In the past, whenever it was a field's turn to be irrigated, the levadero would blow into a conch shell, the sound carrying across the whole valley, like a message, the water is coming. Today, the biggest crop coming out of these fields is bananas, a small, intensely sweet variety exported throughout Portugal and Europe. But perhaps the craft most closely tied to the image of Madeiran women is hand embroidery, a tradition more than 150 years old. At its peak, tens of thousands of women across the island practice this craft right from their own homes, every stitch not only supporting a family, but weaving together an entire export industry for the island. Offshore, Madeiran fishermen pursue a distinctive fish, black scabbard fish, which lives at great ocean depths and is hauled up on lines stretching thousands of meters long. It's a dish deeply woven into the island's culinary identity. Not far from those fishing harbors is Câmara de Lobos, a small fishing village with brightly painted boats moored along the bay. In the 1950s, former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill visited here many times, so captivated by the scene that he picked up a paintbrush and captured the fishing village in several of his own paintings. Even today, life in Câmara de Lobos has changed little from what Churchill once saw. The same old boats, fishermen returning at sunset, and a small town that still seems to deliberately stand apart from the rush of modern life. And here's what might be the strangest mode of transportation you've ever seen. Wicker toboggans woven from willow, found in the Monte district. Since the 19th century, these were an actual means for residents to get down the mountainside. Two men in white uniforms and straw hats would push and steer the sled, using nothing but the rubber soles of their own boots as brakes. Today, these toboggans are still hand-woven in a small village called Camacha, and riding one has become one of the island's most famous tourist experiences. Looking at these traditional trades, some of you are probably wondering, if you actually wanted to move and live somewhere like this, how much money would you need? According to recent cost of living surveys, living alone in Madeira on a budget can cost around 650 to 700 euros a month, not including rent. For a more comfortable lifestyle, rent included, that figure typically falls somewhere between 1,900 and nearly 2,800 euros. A one-bedroom apartment in central Funchal usually runs between 1,000 and over 1,300 euros a month, Move out to the outskirts or smaller towns like Ponta do Sol, and prices can drop to roughly half that. And here's an interesting detail. Madeira's minimum wage is actually higher than mainland Portugal's, a small incentive for those who choose to live on an island so far from the mainland. Compared to Lisbon, the overall cost of living in Madeira tends to be easier on the wallet, though, being an island, many imported goods and fuel end up costing more than the mainland average. For a simple evening out, a meal at a local restaurant can cost as little as around 10 euros, and a glass of poncha, the fisherman's drink we mentioned earlier, sometimes costs just 1 or 2 euros. Perhaps that's exactly what leads so many visitors, after just one trip, to start seriously considering staying for good. And if you're genuinely considering it, you should probably also know what daily life here actually revolves around. Madeira's most iconic dish is called espetada, chunks of beef skewered on a bay laurel branch, grilled over hot coals, then hung right at the table for diners to pull off piece by piece with their own hands. It's usually served alongside bolo do caco, a flatbread made from wheat flour and sweet potato, cooked directly on a hot stone, then slathered in garlic butter while still steaming hot. And the drink most closely tied to the island's fishermen is pancha, sugarcane rum mixed with honey and lemon, stirred with a distinctive small wooden muddler. But the island's most memorable festival isn't centered on food at all. It's centered on flowers. Every spring, Funchal transforms into a vibrant carpet of color. Did you know that since 1979, this festival has had a tradition all its own for children, a wall of hope, where each child pins a single flower onto a fence as a wish for the new year. And if the flower festival is Madeira's gentler face, Carnival is its far livelier, more raucous counterpart. Every February, the streets of Funchal erupt with parades heavily inspired by Brazilian style, glittering costumes, samba dancing, and music echoing through the old streets for days on end. Perhaps it's exactly this blend, the quiet calm of a volcanic island fused with the vibrant energy borrowed from across the Atlantic, that makes Madeira's festival culture so special. And speaking of Madeira's children, there was one boy who grew up among these very same streets, though fate would take him in an entirely different direction. In the Santo Antonio neighborhood, one of the more working-class areas of Funchal, there lived a family in a small home, far from well off. Their youngest son grew up right on the football pitch where his father worked, playing from a very young age, before moving up to the island's bigger club, Nacional da Madeira. At age 12, after a trial, That boy had to leave his family behind to live and train at Sporting CP, all the way in Lisbon. It was, essentially, the first time he'd ever left home. That boy, of course, was Cristiano Ronaldo. Years later, having become one of the greatest goal scorers in the history of football, Ronaldo returned home as Madeira's single greatest source of pride. In late 2014, a bronze statue standing more than 3 meters tall, sculpted by a Madeiran artist himself, was unveiled right in the seaside square, before thousands of onlookers. Not far from there sits the CR7 Museum, home to hundreds of his trophies and his Ballon d'Or, drawing roughly 200,000 visitors a year, football fans and non-fans alike. And since 2017, his name has even been given to the island's international airport, one that anyone flying into Madeira has to read before they ever set foot on the ground. But few people know that the airport bearing his name is actually famous for an entirely different reason. It's considered one of the most difficult airports in the world to land at. Because of the mountainous terrain surrounding it, strong crosswinds constantly sweep across the runway, requiring pilots to hold a special certification just to be allowed to land there. That runway also carries a heavy history. In 1977, a TAP airliner overran the runway, which at the time was still very short, during a storm, and crashed onto the beach below, killing most of the passengers on board. It remains the deadliest aviation disaster in Portuguese history. That tragedy is what pushed authorities to extend the runway, not through ordinary land reclamation, but by building an entire section of runway that juts out over the ocean, resting on hundreds of massive support pillars. This engineering feat was later honored as one of the world's outstanding structural achievements. An airport that once witnessed tragedy, then transformed into an engineering marvel, and now bears the name of the island's own most famous son. But not everyone on the island regards Ronaldo with unconditional reverence. His statue has been vandalized more than once over the years, and as recently as January 2026, it was once again the target of an arson attack. Perhaps that, too, is a very real part of becoming an icon. Not everyone chooses to see you the same way. But love him or not, no one can deny that the story of a poor boy from Santo Antonio changed the way the entire world looks at this small island. And Ronaldo isn't the only thing that's put Madeira on the world's radar in recent years. 2025 was a record-breaking year for Madeira's tourism industry. According to official regional statistics, Madeira welcomed more than 2.4 million visitors, up nearly 10% from the previous year, with total tourism revenue reaching close to €887 million. At the World Travel Awards ceremony held in Bahrain in late 2025, Madeira was named the world's leading island destination for the 11th consecutive year, beating out even the most familiar names in the category. And if you're wondering what time of year Madeira truly shines its brightest, the answer is undoubtedly the end of the year. Throughout the Christmas season, the city of Funchal drapes itself in millions of decorative lights, turning its steep streets into a dazzling sight when viewed from above. But the true high point falls on New Year's Eve, when Funchal's fireworks display, launched from hillsides all around the city, is considered one of the largest fireworks shows in the world, drawing tens of thousands of visitors every year just to witness that single moment. In mid-2025, the first ever direct flight from the United States to Madeira officially launched, connecting New Jersey with Funchal, after decades during which the island could only be reached through connecting flights. But behind these impressive numbers, Madeira is also facing questions that aren't easy to answer. In August 2024, a massive wildfire broke out in the Serra de Agua area, burning for around 11 days and spreading across several different parts of the island. According to the European Wildfire Monitoring System, the total area burned reached roughly 8,100 hectares, nearly 14% of the entire autonomous region's forested land, making it the worst fire in 14 years. The flames came right up to the base of Pico Ruivo, reaching into part of the ancient Lara Silva forest we mentioned earlier in this video. According to some ecologists, the most severely burned areas of forest could take nearly 180 years to fully recover to their original state. This event has also raised a new internal tension. Is tourism's rapid growth putting additional strain on an already fragile ecosystem? So far, Madeira hasn't reached a point of open backlash against over-tourism. But regional authorities have already begun weighing new infrastructure options, including the idea of building a second airport, though local officials stress this remains only a long-term possibility under consideration, not an official plan. In other words, Madeira is standing at a rather delicate balance point. On one side, one of Europe's most dazzling tourism success stories. On the other, the question of how much a small volcanic island can sustainably bear over the long run, where land, fresh water, and even ancient forests are resources that simply cannot be easily replaced. Throughout this video, there's been one quiet current running through every story we've told. From the water channels carved through solid rock, feeding the terraced fields, to the wine that once drifted across the ocean and, in doing so, became immortal. And just like those levadas, Madeira has never taken the shortest path. It has simply flowed quietly, in its own way, and in the end, still found its way out into the world. Thank you for joining Extreme X Travel on today's journey to Madeira. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so we can keep exploring the world together.